Akivili, the central Aeon of Honkai set forth into the universe from the isolated world called Pegana. This planet is also the Express's eventual destination as we tread backwards on Akivili's journey. This name, Pegana, comes from Lord Dunsany's imaginary pantheon, which began with his first book, The Gods of Pegana. This lengthy segment that is on the screen right now is but a small part of his second book, Time and the Gods, set in the same universe as Gods of Pegana. And the excerpt already explores the exact same conundrum and the samsara cycle idea that Honkai Star Rail depends on for its plot. Is the universe predetermined, or is it chaotic? Beyond this, the world of Honkai Star Rail and the world of Dunsany's Pegana are identical in the gods' machinations, the structure of the worlds, the themes, major characters, writing composition, terminology, and overall plot points, to a degree that you could say that Aeons in Honkai Star Rail are XPs of the gods in Pegana. This revelation gives us a lot of insight and explanation into certain Star Rail mysteries that have been killing me for ages, and I'm sure have been killing a couple of theorists too. Disclaimer. This video is part 1 to a series of Honkai Star Rail theories, and it will be referenced in future installments, primarily those involving Akivili, Terminus, and Nanook, but also those about the beauty's purpose, or the permanence's role in Lan's downfall, or the origin of paths as a mechanic, or the Light Leviathan's true form, or the overall ending of Honkai Star Rail, etc, etc. In the conclusion of this video, you will hopefully be convinced of two things. The planet of Pegana is a microcosm of the universe of Honkai Star Rail, like Amphorius or Tivat, so its narrative plot points will parallel those in the future main story. And two, Akivili, Nanook, and Terminus are all connected to this planet, and we will see them there again at the end of the game. I hope you enjoyed this Goliath of a video. It's the first ever script I've ever written, and I cannot afford a proper microphone, as you can probably tell, but I tried to make this as edutaining as I could. All comments, questions, concerns, and criticism are encouraged in the comment section. First, let me establish that the world of Pegana is built on at least 3 books: The Gods of Pegana, Time and the Gods, and a collection of stories called Beyond the Fields We Know. I would recommend reading the books for yourself first, especially Gods of Pegana. They are public domain, online, and a quick read. The history of this prose and Dunsany's own influences are so interesting, especially in the context of the Hoyoverse, that they deserve a video of their own. But all you should know for now is that The Gods of Pegana by Lord Dunsany is a trailblazer of fiction, an early and most influential book featuring an original, complete mythology. It is the predecessor to all imaginary pantheons written in the 20th and 21st centuries. And Dunsany was a direct inspiration to writers like Lovecraft, Tolkien, Pratchett, Harlan Ellison, Arthur Clarke, and oh so many other creators. If you think I'm glazing him, then you've never read those books. Or you've never read Ellison's, Ursula Le Guin's, Lovecraft's, or Arthur Clarke's statements on Dunsany. They were genuinely praising this man like he is God to some degree. Hoyoverse has shown to be acutely aware of everything Dunsany butterfly affected into the world, especially his fan sci-fi novels. So Hoyoverse decided to clearly honor Dunsany's work by naming the central planet of the story after Dunsany's pantheon, and, I believe, basing their story on his books. So, what are those books even about? And how am I so sure that Hoyo took direct inspiration from them? The Gods of Pegana and Time and the Gods are a collection of short stories written in the early 20th century, introducing Lord Dunsany's invented pantheon of gods inhabiting, well, Pegana. The small gods, and the one great creator god, Mana Yut Sushai. Mana was the basis for Lovecraft's great old gods, so you could guess the level of fear, mystery, and power associated with them. Not unlike the Aeons in Gnosticism, born from the god Monad. The small gods are only emanations of Mana Yut Sushai, akin to colors in a rainbow separating from the pure light. Despite being vastly more powerful than humans, They are terrified of human vengeance and are equally toys of fate as humans are. The gods even acknowledge this fact themselves. They say, "We are the gods. We are the little games of Mana Yutsushai that he hath played and hath forgotten." The structure of the world is islands in an imaginary central sea, which is also the Sea of Time, but more on that later. The majority of the books are about the game of worlds that the small gods play to entertain themselves. They create the world by dreaming people into existence, and then they treat those people however the fuck they want for entertainment's sake. We read the sayings and tales involving each small god and their approaches to the worlds. First thing they say is that the gods keep as quiet as possible on Pegana so that Mana Yutsushai doesn't awaken and rebuke them, and end everyone as if they never were. We also read that the creation of humans is inevitable as long as the game progresses, and that the gods are scared that man will find the secret of the gods, so they put a veil between man and his ignorance, since acknowledging your ignorance is the first step to breaching it. Prophets, spirits, and humans alike cry out their questions and frustrations to the gods relentlessly, yet the gods can only answer, "Yet will not the gods divulge the secret of the gods to thee, that gods and beasts and men shall be the same, all knowing the same things." It turns out that even the gods don't know the secret of the universe, the truth, the fact that Mana dreamed the world into existence based on the chess game that chance and fate have played again and again and again. It is also stated several times that the gods do not know their own impending demise, and think that they will survive the apocalypse brought about by Mana instead of dying and reincarnating. The level of understanding that the gods have of this secret, and the human knowledge of it, varies from myth to myth. Sometimes it is the motivation behind the gods' actions, and sometimes the fact that they don't know is the motivation behind their actions. It is very annoying. Nevertheless, it is established that if gods let humans know too much or let them be too ambitious, then there isn't any difference between man and god, and man will find a way to overthrow the gods and become equal to them. A story that showcases this principle perfectly is The Jest of the Gods, the tale of God's arrogance and human resilience, worthy of at least some Star Rail artifact description. Once, the older gods had need for laughter. Therefore, they made the soul of a king, and set in it an ambition greater than the kings should have, and lust for territories beyond the lust of other kings. And in this soul they set strength beyond the strength of others, and a fierce desire for power, and a strong pride. Then the gods pointed earthward and sent this soul into the fields of men to live in the body of a slave. And the slave grew, and the pride and lust for power began to arise in his heart, and he wore shackles on his arms. Then, in the fields of twilight, the gods prepared to laugh. But the slave went down to the shore of the great sea, and cast his body away and the shackles that were upon it, and strode back to the fields of twilight, and stood up before the gods, and looked them in their faces. This thing the gods, when they had prepared to laugh, had not foreseen. Lust for power burned strong within the king's soul, and there was all the strength and pride in it that the gods had placed therein, and he was too strong for the other gods. He, whose body had borne the lashes of men, could brook no longer the dominion of the gods, and standing there before them, he bade the gods to go. Up to their lips leapt all the anger of the older gods, being for the first time commanded, but the king's soul faced them still, and their anger died away, and they averted their eyes. Then their thrones became empty, and the fields of twilight bare as the gods slunk away. But the soul chose new companions. The only way by which the gods of Pegana can die is when Mana awakens, and everyone, humans, worlds, gods, time, space, ideas, memory, this and that, all is flooded by this silent sea. And then the rivers of the Silent Sea are set on fire, and the hound Time devours everything that was miraculously spared. And nothing remains but Mana's infinite memory and imagination. It is said that he may be a merciful god, and that everything shall be again as it was once more. Arguably, after piecing together all the things that I read on Pegana, I can tell you with 80% certainty that the king of great ambition, the one who destroyed the gods and put in place a new set of them, ascended to being Mana Yutsushai himself. He restarted the cycle, he created new companions, all presumably in accordance to the game of fate and chance. This king's story will have been repeated again and again and again in every cycle. In the Simulated Universe's Probability Museum, when you read the description of the items, you read about the commuter who is told to shatter the lock of fate through annihilation, to succumb to slumber and let his genes decide his past and instincts decide his future, to peel away the decay from the husk of the universe and escape into the translucent dreams of old, into the sea of time. All of these metaphors are present in Dunsany's Pegana, especially in the King's Tale. Due to many other reasons, except for what I just told you, I believe that this commuter isn't just an abstract idea of the player, but the king's, quote, XP, unquote. Right after the king's story, we read about how a prophet cursed the gods for forgetting the prayers of his childhood and for his cruel fate, before a poet appeared behind him and asked him not to curse the gods, for the gods are dead. We are led into a desert where there are large bones half drowned in sand, standing out as if they were marble palaces suited for tyrannical kings. "Canst thou be angry with these beautiful white bones?" the poet asked, and the man, despite his endless suffering, forgave the gods. A light rain began then, serenity covered the prophet, before he awoke to thunder in the worlds, and the cries of a child struck to death by the lightning. And so, the poet knew that despite their deaths, the gods still live. This idea of the gods being dead and the world being built on their bones is very similar to the Leviathan's story. Everyone says they're dead, especially the IPC, but truthfully, they are out there. Their bones most likely serve as the foundation for the world, in accordance to actual, real-world Leviathan stories, and the Leviathan conception theory that you can read about on Herta's space station. A point that I will reiterate again and again in this video is that in their sleep, the ultimate god dreams, and those dreams are the true form of the world, a shadow of the ultimate creator's mind, basically an illusion born from memories that are carried into the garden of God's youth. The proof for Honkai Star Rail's nature as a memory is in Fuli's, Aha's, and Hu's entire purposes, among with other Aeons. There is endless, countless evidence towards this point. I will not even read it out to you. The world is also a chess game in Pegana, with the gods as pieces on the game board, the same way as it is in Genshin or Star Rail. Again, look at the Honkai Star Rail chess theory. There's just so much in this fucking game. I barely mentioned any plot or characters beside the king or the gods, so you can guess that the books involving Pegana, with some exceptions, are pure world building. It's like a Bible establishing Dunsany's cosmology. You can't expect a character to show up twice. But the style of proto-surrealist, dreamy writing, where symbolism, idols, emotion, and imagination focus on delivering a specific theme instead of a concrete plot or main cast, is so specific to Dunsany that its imitations are called Dunsanian. And you'd be very familiar with that style if you've ever read the Simulated Universe events. This book is genuinely the easiest read after Swarm Disaster and Golden Gears, and you cannot physically, on my life, gun to my head, you cannot convince me that the Dunsanianism wasn't deliberate. I'm so sorry for the sudden cutoff before I get to the actual juice and meat of this video. It's just that my computer decides to run out of juice every time I try to edit this fucking thing. It's crashed 3 times. And coincidentally, I will be commemorating these failures by dividing this video into 3 parts. In part 2, I will be covering some theories on the Aeons, which make much more sense with the context of Pegana, and also I will be explaining some seeming plot holes or peculiarities of Simulated Universe or the plot of Honkai Star Rail as a whole, which make complete sense with the context of Pegana, but look insane without it, respectfully. And in part 3 I will just assemble all the stuff that we find out in part 2 and explain how Pegana being a microcosm will affect the general plot of the entire story. I just hope I release this on time and they stop confirming what I'm writing. Comment, like, subscribe. If you think I sound like shit, you can politely tell me in the comments, but be nice please, I have soft feelings. And also, I hope your machines don't revolt against you like this fucking thing.